Good morning, guys. Welcome back to Triathlon Mobility Daily. And we're going to be going through this workout today with a lacrosse ball or a massage ball, a kettlebell, and some kind of resistance band. First of all, and I'll let you know, the aim of today is to improve your squat position, which then carries with it a lot of benefits for your sport. Whilst you're never going to see someone in a squat in triathlon, actually the way the joints are opened up, such as the hips, the ankles, the knees, in the bottom of that squat mean that those joints are generally going to be pretty healthy, especially if you can sustain a good posture. Some key areas in the squat which people struggle with are feet turning out, rounding of the back, as you see a little bit there as I go into my deep squat. Generally we're looking for the hips to be in line with the knees or just a little bit lower, whilst being able to maintain a nice neutral spine. It might be at the moment that you struggle to get into that full depth without the lumbar spine starting to flex. That's absolutely fine. Just use something for support like I'm doing here, like a sofa or a banister, whatever. And just have a little move around in your squat to start you off today. We're just going to move around on the ankles, open up the hips, push the knees wide. Have a go at just raising those hands overhead if you can. That's a real test of your overhead mobility, which of course you then need for the swim as well. Before just raising the hips up and then coming on to our first exercise of today. So I'm going to grab the resistance band, just tie it around my foot, and then I also want the kettlebell because I'm going to position my Achilles, or just above my Achilles, on the handle of a kettlebell. So if you don't have a kettlebell, you can use anything thin and metallic. I don't know what you have lying around your house, one of them old school irons. So we're just looking for something that is quite thin that I can put a lot of pressure on the Achilles whilst I flex my foot back completely. So you see my toes are coming back towards the chest or towards the head, and then I put that pressure on the kettlebell and then just go back and forth. We're flossing the joint here. Same amount of pressure. We just take it through full flexion, full dorsiflexion, full plantar flexion, full dorsiflexion. That's just basically back and forwards with the toes. But make sure it's not just the toes, make sure it is the ankle itself. Take a look at the line that the ankle is travelling in as well. Are those toes pointing inwards towards the other leg, or are they pointing outwards? Try and keep them fairly neutral, in line with the knee. We're going to spend a good few minutes on each side here. And what we're trying to do is just feel how that tissue is moving as my ankle moves, and feel all that connective tissue just moving underneath the kettlebell. And we want to loosen that up as much as possible. This is really beneficial to your squat because most people's downfall is their ankles. Especially people who spending a lot of time pounding the pavements with no real thought for their ankles are going to come unstuck pretty quickly and find that their ankles just have completely seized up. So therefore the squat is going to be a very hard position. Just giving you an alternative here, you can use the lacrosse ball on some sort of elevated surface. I prefer the kettlebell. It's just a little bit more intense. The peanut ball as well would actually be good for this because you wouldn't need to balance on the Achilles so much. That band obviously just supporting you in that full range of motion, making sure you can achieve that every single time. So move on to your other side now, just take that band onto the left leg. So make sure you've got enough tension on that band. Take it back towards you, and then same thing again. Just completely flex, completely point it towards you. Pretty much just exploring how that Achilles is working and all the tissue around it. So take that off when you're ready. Chuck that to one side. And we're going to revisit that squat, see how that is feeling now. So hopefully we've just eased a little bit of tension on that Achilles. And if you look at the ankle and the position of it there, you'll see that the Achilles will be a big inhibiting factor at how much flexion I can get, and therefore how upright I can be in my squat. You know, I don't want to be bent over double, I don't want to be chest towards the floor, I want to be able to keep a neutral spine. So revisiting that squat, getting back into that position, having a little move around, just seeing if there is any change. I'm just focusing on each ankle individually, trying to push over to one side, put all my weight through that foot, push the knee as far forward as I can, make sure the arches aren't collapsing in. That's very key. You want to stay strong on the arches, because we never want to have collapsing arches when we squat or when we run either. So now grabbing your foam roller, and we're going to work our way up the calf. So we're basically just taking ourselves up the muscle, or up that tissue, and just focusing a little bit on some rotation. So you find that particularly tender spot, try and rotate the whole calf over it. You can do that sort of almost revving motion back and forth if you like, but I quite like to just rotate over it, stay a little bit more sedentary. What you see a lot of people that are foam rolling their calves and they go just up and down, which, you know, that's good, but then you want to be able to explore it from all angles. Again, just a couple of minutes on each foot, or however long you think you need, just slowly working your way up the calf. So as you can see here, I'm just having a go at flexing the foot again, just pointing the toe away from me, then pointing back, just whilst I've got that continuous pressure on the roller. Same technique and same principle as we did last time. Let's move on to the left side, or the other side. And just practice that revving motion, then going back and forth, side to side. Don't be in too much of a hurry or feel like you always need to be moving on it. If there is that spot that is just unbearable, then focus on that and let yourself breathe into it. Have a little go at flexing that foot back and forth. And after we've done this, we're just going to revisit that squat again. We're just going to see how that's made a difference, if any. Here I'm just using that kettlebell as an anchor, because then I can focus on getting my knee nice and forward over the toe. And you see I'm just focusing on one leg at a time there. Just try to keep the heel blocked down in towards the floor. Flex the knee forward over the toe, preventing any rolling in on the arches. See, we've still got that just slightly rounded lumbar. All I'm doing there is just practicing pushing those knees out and then pushing them in, taking them through all different directions. Getting comfortable down there in the squat. Good, so moving on to our next exercise. We're just going to do a forward fold, or a pike position if you're a gymnast. So I basically want to trace down my legs. If you can grab your toes, great. If not, don't worry, just grab your shins. You can even place a band around the feet and just grab it that way. All I'm doing is a breathing technique, so I want to inhale and just lift the chest ever so slightly, create a taller spine, and then exhale, just getting nice and deep into it, folding forward, relaxing the lower back. This is a really intense one, guys, so just take this one easy. You don't want to push to your end or push to the point of extreme discomfort. Okay, you want to stay in control of the stretch and stay squeezing your hip flexors. That's those muscles at the top of the quads. You want to stay squeezed with the hip flexors. Take as much time as you need to just relax into it before you start that breathing technique again. Okay, I'm trying to push myself onto the hamstring, so I'm trying to walk my hips back almost, or push my pelvis back towards the back of the room. I'm sitting forward on my hamstrings, taking a big inhale, just lifting that spine, and then completely relax into it on the exhale. So it's working with the breath, to just lengthen out that range. I only like to spend about 4 or 5 breaths on there because that one is really intense. And then we're going to just take it in the opposite direction completely and just try and extend through the hips where we were flexed, and just getting a nice bit of extension through the shoulders as well, so that tabletop position. Walk it back in, and again see how the squat is now. See if you've made any difference there. See if it feels more comfortable. For me, I find that really just lights up the hip flexors, and just in turn makes me feel so much more comfortable in the squat, because I'm actively pulling myself down into that end range as opposed to just sitting down there passively. Standing up, having a little move around on the ankles, putting a bit of weight through them. And that's pretty much it for today, guys. That is the focus, is all about the squat. Let me know if you found that useful. Let me know if that really improved your squat. Mark my words, if you can squat for 2 minutes after every run, it's going to significantly reduce the need to do sort of an exhaustive stretching or rolling routine afterwards, because it puts you in the most advantageous position. It's what you want to do after that run, so try and incorporate that as much as possible. Use a sort of difficulty level that's good for you. Use sort of something to elevate the feet if you need to, if those ankles really are holding you back, or use something to hold on to. But otherwise, just have a little move around on those ankles, as I say, putting them for full flexion, making sure that heel stays flat to the floor. And I'll see you back here tomorrow, guys.